Marcus was 55 years old when he realized he'd spent 3 decades lying to everyone he knew. Not about cheating, not about secrets, about money. I'm good, just a little tight this month. Next time, for sure. Car repair, you know how it is. He earned $52,000 a year fixing air conditioners in Phoenix. Steady work, good benefits, no drama. But every single month, his account hit zero before payday. Every invitation felt like an interrogation. Every dinner out required mental math he couldn't afford to do wrong. Then one morning, something inside him snapped, not in anger, in exhaustion. He didn't post about it, didn't tell his kids, didn't ask his coworkers for advice. He just started. 9 months later, his brother noticed something strange. Marcus seemed calm, too calm, like someone who'd stopped running from something no one else could see. Before we continue, if this story hits you, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps YouTube recommend this to people who need to hear it. Now, stay with the full story. Marcus Reeves had been fixing air conditioners in Phoenix for 28 years. Not the glamorous kind of career people wrote LinkedIn posts about, but solid, reliable, the kind of work that kept the lights on in one of the hottest cities in America. He worked for a mid-sized HVAC company, pulled in about $52,000 a year, had health insurance, a 401k he barely understood, and a 2014 Ford F-150 that ran fine. On paper, Marcus should have been comfortable. He wasn't married anymore, divorced 12 years back, amicable enough. His 2 kids were grown. Sarah, 31, worked in Denver. Miguel, 27, was finishing nursing school in Tucson. He lived alone in a small rental near 32nd Street in Thomas, a quiet neighborhood where he knew his neighbors by first name, and the corner store guy always had his Gatorade ready. His mornings started at 5:45 a.m. Coffee, shower, uniform, out the door by 6:30 to beat the heat and the traffic. Most days he'd be crawling through attics by 8 a.m., replacing compressors, cleaning coils, explaining to frustrated homeowners why their units froze up. Hard work, but honest work. He should have been fine. But every month, around the 22nd or 23rd, Marcus would check his bank account and feel his chest tighten. $140. $89, sometimes $34. Payday was still 5 days away. The gas tank was on E. The grocery run he'd been putting off couldn't wait another week. And there was always something. A coworker's birthday lunch, his truck needing an oil change, Miguel asking if he could chip in $60 for textbooks. Marcus never said no to his kids, even when he should have. So he'd transfer $40 from his credit card, or skip lunch for 3 days, or tell Sarah he'd Venmo her next week, and then hope she'd forget. Nobody knew. At work, he was good old Marcus, first one to buy a round of beers on Friday, always down for the crew's monthly barbecue, quick with a joke when the day got long. He never talked about money, never complained. When his coworkers talked about vacation plans or new trucks, Marcus just nodded and smiled. At family dinners, he'd insist on picking up the check, even when it meant his account would be overdrawn on Monday. Because that's what dads do. That's what men are supposed to do. But late at night, alone in his apartment, Marcus would lie awake and run the numbers in his head. Where did it go? He didn't gamble, didn't drink much, didn't buy stupid stuff. He wasn't one of those guys with a boat or a motorcycle or a girlfriend half his age draining his wallet. So why, after 28 years of steady work, did he feel like he was drowning? The worst part wasn't the empty account, it was the lying. I'm good, just tight this month. Next time for sure. Car trouble, you know how it is. Every excuse felt like swallowing glass, and every month the lies got easier to tell. Until one Tuesday morning in March, when Marcus opened his mailbox and found an envelope that made his hands shake. The envelope was from his credit card company, not a bill. He always paid those, even if it was just the minimum. This was different, thicker, official looking. Marcus opened it standing in his kitchen, still in his work boots. Notice of credit limit decrease. Due to utilization patterns and payment history, his $8,500 limit was being reduced to $3,200, effective immediately.
He read it twice, then a third time. His balance was $3,089. That meant he had $111 of available credit left on the card he used for emergencies, for gas when he ran short, for groceries on week 3 of the month. Marcus sat down at his kitchen table and stared at the paper. How did this happen? He wasn't reckless. He didn't buy crazy stuff. He worked full-time. He was responsible. But then he opened his banking app, really opened it past the main balance screen, and started scrolling. The charges came into focus like a slow-motion accident. $14.99, Netflix. $12.99, Hulu. $9.99, Spotify. $19.99, LA Fitness. He hadn't been in 4 months. $11.99, YouTube Premium. $6.99, iCloud storage. $4.99, some app he didn't remember downloading. Then the bigger stuff. $47 at the gas station convenience store last week. He'd only needed $30 in gas. The rest? Gatorade, beef jerky, a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos he didn't even finish. $89 at Home Depot for a tool he might need someday. $35 on DoorDash because he was too tired to cook. $60 Venmo to Miguel, which was fine, that was his son, but it came 2 days before payday when Marcus had $71 in checking. And then the real problem appeared. Overdraft fees. 3 of them in the last 2 months, $35 each. He'd paid $105 in fees for being broke. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He scrolled further back. April, March, February. Every month looked the same. Small purchases, convenience, just this once. A dinner here, a drink there, subscriptions he forgot existed. Little bleeding cuts that never stopped. He earned $52,000 a year. After taxes, that was about $3,400 a month. Where did $3,400 go every single month? He didn't have a mortgage. His rent was $975. His truck was paid off. He didn't have child support. His insurance was $140. Utilities, maybe $150. That left over $2,000 a month for everything else. And somehow, he ended every month with nothing. Marcus sat there for 20 minutes, phone in hand, just staring. Then his phone buzzed. A text from his brother, Danny. "Yo, still down for Vegas next month? Got us a good rate at Circus Circus. $220 each for the weekend." Marcus stared at the message. 6 months ago, he would have said yes immediately, would have figured it out later, would have put it on the card and told himself he'll pay it off when things calm down. But things never calm down. He looked at the credit card notice still sitting on the table. 55 years old, nearly 3 decades of steady work, and he couldn't afford a weekend trip with his brother without going deeper into a hole he didn't even realize he'd been digging. For the first time in years, Marcus felt something other than stress. He felt shame. Not the kind you talk about, the kind that sits in your chest at 9 p.m. when everyone else is asleep and you're staring at your phone calculator trying to figure out how you're going to make it to Friday. He didn't respond to Danny's text. Instead, Marcus did something he'd never done before. He opened the Notes app on his phone and typed 4 words. Where does it go?
Marcus didn't tell anyone what he was doing. Not his kids, not his brother, not the guys at work. He just started. The next morning, Wednesday, March 15th, he stopped at the gas station on the way to his first job, filled up the tank, $48. Before walking inside for his usual Gatorade and breakfast burrito, he paused. Then he drove away. He had a water bottle in the truck. He had leftovers at home he could have brought. He didn't need the convenience store. He just always bought from it. That saved him $11. It felt stupid, small, pointless, but he wrote it down anyway in his Notes app. March 15th, didn't buy gas station food, $11 saved. That night, after work, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with a pen and a yellow legal pad he'd found in a drawer. He wrote 3 categories across the top: must pay, save, everything else. Under must pay, he listed rent $975, truck insurance $140, phone $65, utilities $150, gas for work $200, total $1,530. Under save, he wrote $300. It felt impossible, but he wrote it anyway. That left $1,570 for everything else: groceries, eating out, subscriptions, random stuff, life. Marcus stared at the number. $1,570. Sounded like plenty. So why did he always run out? Then he remembered something his father told him when Marcus was 19, working his first real job at a tire shop. Boy, if you don't tell your money where to go, it'll leave and you won't even know where it went. His dad had been a mechanic, raised 4 kids on $32,000 a year back in the 80s, paid cash for everything, never had credit cards, never looked stressed about money. Marcus had always thought his dad was just old school. Now he realized his dad knew something Marcus had forgotten. That night, Marcus opened every single subscription on his phone and computer. He canceled LA Fitness, $19.99, hadn't gone in months. Hulu, $12.99, only watched Netflix anyway. YouTube Premium, $11.99, the ads weren't that bad. The Weird app he didn't recognize, $4.99. iCloud Storage, $6.99. He didn't even know what he was storing. Total monthly savings, $56.95. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was his money, and it had been leaking out every month for years without him noticing. Next, he opened a new checking account, a free one at a local credit union. He called it his Do Not Touch account. The next payday, Friday, March 17th, Marcus did something that felt insane. The moment his paycheck hit, $1,738 after taxes, he immediately transferred $300 to the Do Not Touch account. Not at the end of the month, not after paying bills, not if there's anything left. First. Then he paid rent, insurance, phone, utilities. What was left, about $1,100, was for everything else: groceries, gas, life. And here's what Marcus did that changed everything. He took out $400 in cash, put it in an envelope, wrote groceries and gas on it. That was his food and fuel budget for the next 2 weeks. When the cash was gone, it was gone. The rest stayed in checking for auto pays and emergencies. No apps, no complicated spreadsheets, no finance gurus. Just 3 simple rules. 1, pay himself first, $300 to savings automatically payday morning. 2, cash for groceries and gas, $400 every 2 weeks. 3, track every single dollar in Notes app, no matter how small. That was it. No one knew he was doing this. He didn't post about it, didn't tell his kids he was getting his finances together, didn't ask his coworkers for advice. He just did it. The first week was brutal. That $400 cash felt like nothing. Groceries were $110, gas was $95. By day 9, he had $87 left and 5 days until the next envelope. Marcus ate rice and beans. He meal prepped on Sunday for the first time in a decade. He stopped going to the corner store just for a Gatorade. His coworkers noticed something was off. "Marcus, you good? You didn't come to lunch?" "Yeah, man, just brought food from home today." They looked at him like he'd said he was joining a monastery. But Marcus didn't explain, didn't defend it, didn't make it a thing. By the end of week 2, he still had $34 in the envelope. He put it in a jar on his counter and labeled it extra. The second paycheck came. He did it again. $300 to Do Not Touch, $400 to the envelope, bills paid. And this time, he didn't run out. The third month, Marcus opened his Do Not Touch account on his phone. Balance, $914. He stared at it for a full minute. He hadn't saved $914 in one place since he couldn't even remember when. And nobody knew. Not his kids, not his brother, not his coworkers. He was doing this alone, in silence, with no applause, no motivation quotes, no accountability partner. Just him and a yellow legal pad and 3 rules his father would have understood. By month 4, something shifted in Marcus that had nothing to do with the numbers. He stopped checking his bank account 5 times a day. That pit in the stomach feeling when his phone buzzed with a payment notification? Gone. The mental math at every stoplight. Can I afford this? Should I skip this? What if something breaks? It just stopped. Not because he suddenly had a pile of money, he didn't, but because for the first time in decades, he knew exactly where every dollar was. The Do Not Touch account hit $1,247 in April, then $1,612 in May. By June, it was $1,980. Marcus didn't tell anyone, didn't screenshot it for Instagram, didn't text his kids to celebrate. He just felt it, a kind of calm he'd forgotten existed. At work, his coworkers started noticing small things. "Marcus, you seem different, like less stressed or something." He'd just shrug. Sleeping better, I guess. They had no idea. In late April, his brother Danny texted again. "Dude, Phoenix Suns playoff tickets. My buddy's selling 2 for $180 each. You in?" Old Marcus would have said yes immediately, would have figured it out later, would have put it on the card and felt guilty for 3 weeks. New Marcus opened his Notes app, checked the everything else budget. He had $140 left until payday, 4 days away. Groceries were already bought, gas tank was full. He could afford it, but he looked at the Do Not Touch account, looked at the number he'd been building for 2 months in total silence, and he typed back, "Not this time, bro. Catch the next one." Danny replied with a confused emoji. Marcus didn't explain. The temptation wasn't gone. It still hurt to say no, but the fear of saying yes hurt more, because Marcus had learned something nobody told him at 55. Control feels better than anything you can buy. In May, his truck started making a weird noise. The check engine light came on. Old Marcus would have panicked, would have put it on the card, would have lost sleep. New Marcus drove to AutoZone, got the code read for free, Googled it, a $140 repair he could do himself with a YouTube video and a part from O'Reilly's. He pulled $140 from checking, not from savings, not from the Do Not Touch account, and fixed it on a Saturday morning. When he was done, he sat in his driveway, hands still greasy, and realized he'd just handled a crisis without a single ounce of panic. By mid-June, the cash envelope system had become automatic. He knew exactly how much he could spend on groceries without doing math. He knew that if he bought lunch out twice a week, he'd run short. He knew that the corner store Gatorade added up to $47 a month he didn't need to spend. The tracking in his Notes app wasn't a chore anymore. It was just what he did, like brushing his teeth. Some days, he'd look at an entry from March. Gas station snacks, $14. And he'd think, that used to be invisible. Now, he saw everything. One Thursday in late June, Marcus was eating lunch in his truck between service calls, leftover chicken and rice he'd made on Sunday, when his coworker Jamie knocked on the window. "Yo, we're hitting up Los Rios for tacos. You coming?" Marcus looked at the $11 lunch he'd packed. "Nah, I'm good. You go ahead." Jamie looked at him weird. "Bro, you've been saying that for like 2 months. You mad at us or something?" "Nah, man, just trying something different." Jamie squinted. "Different like what? You want a diet?" Marcus smiled. "Something like that." He didn't say, "I'm on a not being broke at 55 diet," because the truth was too big to explain in a parking lot. By the end of June, Marcus's Do Not Touch account had $2,380 in it. He hadn't taken a single dollar out, not for emergencies, not for just this once, not even when Miguel needed $100 for summer classes and Marcus could have helped from savings. He sent Miguel the $100 from his regular checking, planned for it, budgeted it, because he'd learned the difference between helping people and breaking himself to avoid disappointing them. One night in early July, Marcus was lying in bed scrolling his phone when he saw a post from a high school friend.
Finally debt-free, paid off $18K in 14 months. If I can do it, you can too. 300 likes, 47 comments, everyone celebrating. Marcus smiled, put his phone down, and rolled over. He was happy for the guy, truly, but Marcus didn't need the likes. He had something better. He had $2,380 that nobody knew about except him. And he had the kind of sleep you only get when you're not running from anything anymore.
9 months after Marcus opened that credit card notice, his brother Danny came over for a beer. It was a Saturday in late November. Phoenix was finally cooling down. They sat on Marcus's small patio, drinking Modelo's, talking about nothing important. Then Danny said something that made Marcus's chest tighten. "Hey, I gotta ask you something." Marcus looked over. "Yeah? You doing okay? Like, for real?" "Yeah, man, why?" Danny took a sip. "I don't know, you just seem different. Calmer, I guess. You've been saying no to stuff. You don't come out as much. Sarah said you turned down Thanksgiving at her place in Denver because the flight was too expensive." Marcus nodded slowly. He had said no to that, not because he couldn't afford it. He had $4,800 in savings now, but because he didn't need to prove he could afford it. "I'm good, Danny, just figuring some stuff out." Danny squinted at him. "You in some kind of trouble?" Marcus laughed. "Nah, man, opposite, actually." "Then what is it?" Marcus thought about it. He could have explained the whole thing, the credit card letter, the yellow legal pad, the cash envelopes, the do not touch account. He could have told his brother that for the first time since his 20s, he had 4 months of rent saved, that he hadn't used his credit card in 7 months, that he finally understood where his money went because he told it where to go. But he didn't, because the work wasn't for applause. "I just stopped lying," Marcus said finally. "Lying about what?" "About being okay when I wasn't." Danny sat with that for a second. Then he nodded. "Yeah, I feel you." They didn't talk about it again, but 2 weeks later, Danny texted him. "Yo, random question, you got a yellow legal pad I can borrow?" Marcus smiled. By December, Marcus had $5,100 in his Do Not Touch account. He didn't post about it, didn't celebrate with a dinner out, didn't buy anything to reward himself. He just kept going. Because here's what Marcus learned at 55 years old. The people who talk about change are rarely the ones actually changing. Real transformation doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need motivation videos or accountability posts or before and after photos. It happens in silence, in small decisions no one sees. In the moment you choose the packed lunch over the $13 burrito. In the moment you transfer $300 before you pay anything else. In the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who wouldn't understand anyway. Marcus still fixed air conditioners in Phoenix, still drove the same truck, still lived in the same rental near 32nd and Thomas. But everything was different because he wasn't running anymore. Not from his bank account, not from his mailbox, not from the truth. And the wildest part? Nobody noticed. His coworkers still thought he was good old Marcus. His kids still called when they needed something. His brother still invited him to things. But Marcus had become someone new. Not louder, not richer, not more successful by anyone else's definition. Just free. Free from the lies he used to tell himself. Free from the month-to-month panic. Free from wondering if he'd make it to payday. One night in late December, Marcus was lying in bed scrolling through his phone when he saw an old photo from 2 years ago. He was at a Suns game with Danny, big smile, beer in hand, looking like he didn't have a care in the world. But Marcus remembered that night. He remembered checking his account in the bathroom, seeing $47, having 6 days until payday, feeling his chest go tight, going back to his seat and pretending everything was fine. He closed the photo, opened his banking app. Do Not Touch, $5,220. He didn't smile, didn't screenshot it, didn't tell anyone. He just rolled over and went to sleep.
the kind of sleep you only get when you stop performing your life for other people and start living it for yourself. Marcus never announced his transformation. He didn't need to, because the only person who needed to know he'd changed was him.